Hello, and I want to thank everybody for joining me today. My name is Wesley Boudreau, one of the financial advisors here with the Retirement Group. Today, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the ConocoPhillips pension plans, but more importantly, talk about the interest rate updates and how they affect the lump sums we're seeing for the third and fourth quarter of 2020. Now, again, this is going to be a webinar, so we're going to be a little bit more abbreviated on some of the information. But should you have any questions or need to actually dig deeper into the specific pension plans or run a review, just give us a call at 1-800-900-5867. We'll be more than happy to help you out. So for those of you that do not know who the Retirement Group is or haven't sat down with us one-on-one or had a phone appointment with us, we are an independent financial advisory firm that focuses on working with corporate employees and helping them transition into retirement. We've been doing this for close to 30 years, and for a large part of that, we've been helping ConocoPhillips employees transition to retirement. And the key of our goal is to focus on your benefits plans so that we can have a good understanding of them and help hold your hand through that process as you transition to make sure you do not make any mistakes in that transition process. Some of those mistakes we see a lot of times focus on the healthcare benefits, the pension lump sum versus annuity choices, and we'll go through some of that today as well. And we've got offices throughout the country, so rest assured if you do need to sit down with somebody one-on-one, we've probably got you covered. And we've got, again, the knowledge of the company plans. And one of the biggest things we do for you is we run a cash flow analysis, and it's complimentary. So if you have any questions or want to run one, just give us a call and let us know. But the goal there is to actually run a very conservative cash flow analysis to let you know what your choices are as you transition to retirement, to help you determine the best day to retire so you maximize your benefits. Now, whenever you do retire, you're going to be looking at really three sources of potential income for a ConocoPhillips employee. Number one, your Social Security, which you have the option of taking that as early as age 62 or deferring it all the way till age 70. We do provide a Social Security analysis if you want to see those different claiming strategies, because there are many to look at. And the other option is going to be your 401k plan, which is what you've been making contributions to over your career as well as the company. And that's going to be a certain amount depending upon how the markets have done and how your investment choices have performed. But once you retire, you have the option of keeping that there or rolling it over to an IRA if you want more flexibility and more diversity, as well as if you need help from a group like the Retirement Group. At that point, you can take distributions to supplement your income. What we're going to talk about today is going to be actually the pension plan, which is geared towards a defined benefit plan, which pays out a specific income for the rest of your life. But there are other choices as to how you want to take that income. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of different plans you could have as a ConocoPhillips employee due to the different mergers over time. The three we're going to focus on today, which is the ones we see most often, are going to be the Title I, which is the Phillips retirement plan, the Title II, which is the cash balance plan for the ConocoPhillips company, and then those that you were hired on as Conoco for the Title IV, the Conoco retirement plan. Now, again, we're not going to go into great detail on the calculations of these. We're just going to talk a little bit about them. We do have a much broader, or a much more detailed approach when we talk about them with the seminars, but we want to respect your time today. So the first one we're going to talk about is that Conoco retirement plan, which is Title IV. Some of the key things to remember here is in order to be eligible, you need to be 50 plus 10 years of service. The normal retirement age is 65. And this is for individuals that were hired at Conoco prior to 2003. And at that time, you had the option to change it to a cash balance plan, which we'll talk about soon. But hopefully you didn't, because this is a pretty good plan. It's a classic defined benefit plan, in which case there's a formula that looks at your years of service, your age, and your final average pay to determine what you're going to get for the rest of your life as an annuity. So from that point, there are other calculations that they can perform to give you other choices from that annuity as well. We'll talk about those in just a moment. Now, the question being, how much of that are you going to get? We talked about age 50 plus 10. So if you are at least 50 years old and have 10 years of service, this is going to be the payout grid that you're looking at. So you want to make sure you're looking at age 60 or beyond if you want to get 100% of your pension. It doesn't mean that you have to retire at age 60. You could, in theory, retire at age 58 and simply defer your pension until age 60 and not collect it at that point, getting essentially a raise for the next 2 years. So for this plan, you're looking at about a 4% drop each year for the first few years, then it goes up a little bit. So for somebody that retires at 58 and decides to take their benefits, they're only going to get 92% of that pension. However, if they deferred that commencement out until age 60, they would get 100%. Now, if you do not meet the 50 plus 10, the penalties are a lot more severe. It's pretty much about double. Instead of a 4% reduction, it's almost an 8% reduction per year, and that goes up a little bit from there. So again, we can run the cash flow analysis to show you your specific situation side by side with various dates to retire. Now, for somebody who was hired on at Phillips, it's a very similar plan. Again, it's a defined benefit plan where there's a calculation to determine your single life annuity. Then every other option is derived from that. But same situation, age 65 is normal retirement age. The difference here is you cannot take your benefit until age 55, and the penalties are a little bit more severe there. It's about a 5% drop each year. So again, you're looking at age 60 and beyond, you collect 100%, and then if you leave earlier, it's a 5% reduction each year. So somebody at 55, for instance, would be 75% of their pension. Now, if you did leave before 55, then it becomes more severe, and you can see this on the right-hand side, the drop in your pension if you were to actually leave before 55. So again, you want to make sure you at least make it to age 55 in order to help maximize your pension options there. Now, the third one that most of the newer hires that have been on for a while with ConocoPhillips will see, or you could have been under one of the other two plans in transition to the cash balance plan if you wanted to. But the cash balance plan works a little bit differently. And that's not a defined benefit plan, in which case there's a formula to dictate what your actual pay is going to be, but it's an actual cash balance where the company makes a contribution. You don't, but just the company makes a contribution like they would to your 401k, but into an actual cash balance plan that's going to grow based upon treasury rates each year. And so it generates a lump sum that you can see year by year and know what that amount is. And then from that point, you can decide to take it as a lump sum or annuitize it. So the pay credit structure is based upon your years of service and your age. So if you add up your years of service and age and it's under 44, so let's say somebody new has got 35 with 5 years, that adds up to 40, they're getting a 6% contribution to the cash balance plan. If it's between 44 and 66, you're getting a 7% contribution. So let's say somebody who's 40 with 10 years, that adds up to 50. And then if you reach over that 66 period, you're going to be looking at 9% contributions to the cash balance plan. So what this generally speaking means is if you're with the company for a while, you'll start out with 6% contributions and it grows to 7, then to 9%. So as you get older and closer to retirement, they're giving you a bigger bump or a bigger contribution to that cash balance plan. So these are three of the key defined benefits plans that we're looking at with ConocoPhillips. Now, each of them are a little bit different, but you do have some of the same choices as far as distribution options. With the defined benefits plans, the Conoco and the Phillips, those are calculated to determine a single life annuity. From that point, every other option is calculated from there. So let's say you run the calculation, it comes out that you're getting $3,000 a month for the rest of your life. That's a single life annuity. If you're married and you want to change it to a joint survivor, you can do so that your spouse gets anywhere from 10 to 100% of the same amount. But obviously, since they're paying out over 2 lives, instead of getting $3,000, it may be a little bit less than that. Then for those of you that are curious about managing the assets on your own and looking to take the lump sum, they do provide what's called a lump sum distribution, which you can roll over to an IRA and manage on your own, or work with a company like the retirement group to help you manage those assets so you can try to meet or beat that $3,000 a month for the rest of your life in this example. There are pros and cons to all of these, so it's different for each person. There's not a one size fits all. That's why I do recommend running the cash flow analysis so that we can take a look at those choices for you side by side. But some of the general benefits of the lump sum is you get control of it, and you have that option to manage it and try and outperform what the annuity would have been. Whereas the annuity, there's no risk associated with it. The only risk is just the cost of living adjustments because you're not going to get a raise there. With a lump sum, we're seeing some of the lowest interest rates we've ever seen in the history of the company, which is correlating to some of the highest lump sums we've ever seen as well. Now, so that's going to attract a lot of people to the lump sum, but again, be careful. If you spend it too quickly or you mismanage it, there could be risk there. So we talked about the interest rates and how that lump sum is calculated. So what happens is they'll take that $3,000 example we just mentioned, and what they'll do is they'll look at your age and your life expectancy and determine how much do I have to give him or her in order for them to try and equate that same $3,000 a month. So as interest rates go down, the lump sums will go up. As interest rates go up, the lump sums will go down. So the reason the lump sums are higher when interest rates are lower is because it's that much harder for you to try and achieve that same return. So think about it like whenever you buy a house. If interest rates are low, you can afford a bigger house or a bigger mortgage. So it's kind of the same way with interest rates and the lump sum calculation. Now, the way ConocoPhillips does the lump sum calculation, there's actually two rates they use. Before 2009, they used the 30-year Treasury rate, and post 2009, they used the PPA segment rates, which is the Pension Protection Act segment rates. So these are a little bit different, and you can run the calculation in the tool, so you can see exactly what that lump sum is. But if we're looking at the chart here below, for the way they do it is the last month of the prior quarter to determine those rates. So if we look at right now, we just got the June rates, and that's going to dictate what fourth quarter is going to be. In June was the lowest interest rate we've ever seen in the PPA segment rate history. And these segment rates are, the first segment correlates to the first 5 years of retirement. The second is years 6 through 20. And the third is going to be years 21 and beyond. Now, if we look at these segment rates, the first is going to be 0.74%, then 2.57%, then 3.32% for the fourth quarter. If you were to actually commence your benefits right now in third quarter, it's going to be a little bit higher, which means your lump sum is going to be a little bit lower. We're looking at 2.22%, 3.08%, and 3.73%. Now, again, these are for the portion of your pension that was calculated post 2009. The portion before is based upon the 30-year Treasury average, which has actually stayed pretty flat over the last 2 quarters. However, if we go back and look at about this time last year, or fourth quarter last year, 2019, you can see that looking at segment, that second segment was about 3.51%. Now we're at 2.57. So we've dropped almost about 1 percentage point. And generally speaking, a 1% point change equals about 8 to 12% change in your lump sum. So what you're looking at is roughly 1% equals 10%. So if we've seen that 1% drop over the last year, and let's say you had a $500,000 lump sum last you checked it, it could now be worth about $550 in the fourth quarter. Or $1 million lump sum could be 1.1 million. A $2 million lump sum could be 2.2 million. So we're talking about some serious changes from quarter to quarter here. And same case, just that drop from third quarter to fourth quarter is going to change a couple percentage points as well. Now, on the flip side, the opposite could happen as well if interest rates start to go up, which we know they'll go up. It's just a matter of when and how quickly will they go up. You could see your pension drop. So if we were to actually have a 1% change where interest rates go back up by 1% over the next year or so, that $1 million lump sum could drop down to $900,000. So it's very important to keep up to date on these quarterly rates, and just give us a call and we can go through that with you and keep you updated on them. But if you're close to retirement within the next 2 years or so, we definitely recommend updating that cash flow analysis, because we can uncover the best quarter to retire so you maximize your benefits. Now, as far as that cash flow analysis, again, the goal there is to actually put together various choices. You can look at different retirement dates and different options of the lump sum versus the annuity, so you can weigh those pros and cons side by side, and not just see what they look like now, but see what they look like in 10, 20, or 30 years down the road as well. So again, that's complimentary, and we do welcome you to give us a call to take us up on that. Now, at the end of the day, we'd love to work with you. Obviously, if you are working with somebody right now, we do recommend getting a second opinion. Hopefully they're doing a great job for you, but it's always good to review things in greater detail. Make sure that they do have a full understanding of your benefits plans, like the pension plan, the 401k, and the healthcare accounts. Make sure you understand their fee structure. We are a fiduciary. We are transparent on our fees. We're not a one-size-fits-all shop where everybody goes into the same portfolio. Our goal is to run that cash flow analysis and then back into multiple choices and options for you, and go through those side by side and let you decide. Make sure you're working with an investment management team, so there's support behind the scenes. It's not just one person doing everything. And then make sure, again, they run that cash flow analysis, and make sure that's a conservative cash flow analysis. You don't want to be too optimistic and make mistakes going forward. And again, the goal is to plan for the worst, hope for the best. And again, this was just a quick update on the defined benefits plans, the pension plans with ConocoPhillips, and then also looking at the lump sum interest rates. So again, as I said, right now we're seeing the change from third quarter to fourth quarter, the lowest interest rates we've ever seen in the history of the company, which means we're seeing the highest lump sum calculations you may ever see. So again, give us a call at 1-800-900-5867 if you'd like to run the cash flow analysis, or simply have us answer any of your questions on those options, as well as the 401k. I want to thank everybody for taking a little bit of time out of their day for joining me, and I hope everybody stays safe.